the new God of oneness, the new gods of oneness, the new God of oneness, the new goddess of oneness, the new goddesses of oneness, the new goddess of oneness, the old God of oneness, the old gods of oneness, the old God of oneness, the old goddess of oneness, the old goddesses of oneness, the old goddess of oneness, the greater God of oneness, the greater gods of oneness, the greater God of oneness, the greater goddess of oneness, the greater goddesses of oneness, the greater goddess of oneness, the lesser God of oneness, the lesser gods of oneness, the lesser God of oneness, the lesser goddess of oneness, the lesser goddesses of oneness, the lesser goddess of oneness, the higher God of oneness, the higher gods of oneness, the higher God of oneness, the higher goddess of oneness, the higher goddesses of oneness, the higher goddess of oneness, the lower God of oneness, the lower gods of oneness, the lower God of oneness, the lower goddess of oneness, the lower goddesses of oneness, the lower goddess of oneness, the greater spirit of oneness, the greater spirits of oneness, the greater spirit of oneness, the lesser spirit of oneness, the lesser spirits of oneness, the lesser spirit of oneness, the higher spirit of oneness, the higher spirits of oneness, the higher spirit of oneness, the lower spirit of oneness, the lower spirits of oneness, the lower spirit of oneness, the major God of oneness, the major gods of oneness, the major God of oneness, the major goddess of oneness, the major goddesses of oneness, the major goddess of oneness, the minor God of oneness, the minor gods of oneness, the minor God of oneness, the minor goddess of oneness, the minor goddesses of oneness, the minor goddess of oneness, the superior God of oneness, the superior gods of oneness, the superior God of oneness, the superior goddess of oneness, the superior goddesses of oneness, the superior goddess of oneness, the inferior God of oneness, the inferior gods of oneness, the inferior God of oneness, the inferior goddess of oneness, the inferior goddesses of oneness, the inferior goddess of oneness, the ancestor God of oneness, the ancestor gods of oneness, the ancestor God of oneness, the ancestor goddess of oneness, the ancestor goddesses of oneness, the ancestor goddess of oneness, the ascendant God of oneness, the ascendant gods of oneness, the ascendant God of oneness, the ascendant goddess of oneness, the ascendant goddesses of oneness, the ascendant goddess of oneness, the descendant God of oneness, the descendant gods of oneness, the descendant God of oneness, the descendant goddess of oneness, the descendant goddesses of oneness, the descendant goddess of oneness, the transcendent God of oneness, the transcendent gods of oneness, the transcendent God of oneness, the transcendent goddess of oneness, the transcendent goddesses of oneness, the transcendent goddess of oneness, the past God of oneness, the past gods of oneness, the past God of oneness, the past goddess of oneness, the past goddesses of oneness, the past goddess of oneness, the present God of oneness, the present gods of oneness, the present God of oneness, the present goddess of oneness, the present goddesses of oneness, the present goddess of oneness, the future God of oneness, the future gods of oneness, the future God of oneness, the future goddess of oneness, the future goddesses of oneness, the future goddess of oneness, the authentic God of oneness, the authentic gods of oneness, the authentic God of oneness, the authentic goddess of oneness, the authentic goddesses of oneness, the authentic goddess of oneness, the synthetic God of oneness, the synthetic gods of oneness, the synthetic God of oneness, the synthetic goddess of oneness, the synthetic goddesses of oneness, the synthetic goddess of oneness, The progressive God of oneness. The progressive gods of oneness. The progressive God of oneness. The progressive goddess of oneness. The progressive goddesses of oneness. The progressive goddess of oneness. The regressive God of oneness. The regressive gods of oneness. The regressive God of oneness. The regressive goddess of oneness. The regressive goddesses of oneness. The regressive goddess of oneness. The ordinary God of oneness. The ordinary gods of oneness. The ordinary God of oneness. The ordinary goddess of oneness. The ordinary goddesses of oneness. The ordinary goddess of oneness. The extraordinary God of oneness. The extraordinary gods of oneness. The extraordinary God of oneness. The extraordinary goddess of oneness. The extraordinary goddesses of oneness. The extraordinary goddess of oneness. The static God of oneness. The static gods of oneness. The static God of oneness. The static goddess of oneness. The static goddesses of oneness. The static goddess of oneness. The dynamic God of oneness. The dynamic gods of oneness. The dynamic God of oneness. The dynamic goddess of oneness. The dynamic goddesses of oneness. The dynamic goddess of oneness. The land God of oneness. The land gods of oneness. The land God of oneness. The land goddess of oneness. The land goddesses of oneness. The land goddess of oneness. The sea God of oneness. The sea gods of oneness. The sea God of oneness. The sea goddess of oneness. The sea goddesses of oneness. The sea goddess of oneness. The sky God of oneness. The sky gods of oneness. The sky God of oneness. The sky goddess of oneness. The sky goddesses of oneness. The sky goddess of oneness. The God of oneness. The gods of oneness. The God of oneness. The goddess of oneness. The goddesses of oneness. The goddess of oneness. The half God of oneness. The half gods of oneness. The half God of oneness. The half goddess of oneness. The half goddesses of oneness. The half goddess of oneness. The vessel of oneness. The vessels of oneness. The vessel of oneness. The name of oneness. The names of oneness. The name of oneness. The person of oneness. The persons of oneness. The person of oneness. The persona of oneness. The personas of oneness. The persona of oneness. The personage of oneness. The personages of oneness. The personage of oneness. The personality of oneness. The personalities of oneness. The personality of oneness. The personification of oneness. The personifications of oneness. The personification of oneness. The image of oneness. The images of oneness. The image of oneness. The imagination of oneness. The imaginations of oneness. The imagination of oneness. The belief of oneness. The beliefs of oneness. The belief of oneness. The thought of oneness. The thoughts of oneness. The thought of oneness. The word of oneness. The words of oneness. The word of oneness. The action of oneness. The actions of oneness. The action of oneness. The reaction of oneness. The reactions of oneness. The reaction of oneness. The feeling of oneness. The feelings of oneness. The feeling of oneness. The situation of oneness. The situations of oneness. The situation of oneness. The circumstance of oneness. The circumstances of oneness. The circumstance of oneness. The environment of oneness. The environments of oneness. The environment of oneness. The relationship of oneness. The relationships of oneness. The relationship of oneness. The number of oneness. The numbers of oneness. The number of oneness. The formula of oneness. The formulas of oneness. The formula of oneness. The equation of oneness. The equations of oneness. The equation of oneness. The theory of oneness. The theories of oneness. The theory of oneness. the symbol of oneness, the symbols of oneness, the symbol of oneness, the color of oneness, the colors of oneness, the color of oneness, the thing of oneness, the things of oneness, the thing of oneness, the way of oneness, the ways of oneness, the way of oneness, the place of oneness, the places of oneness, the place of oneness, the time of oneness, the times of oneness, the time of oneness, the event of oneness, the events of oneness, the event of oneness, the result of oneness, the results of oneness, the result of oneness, the crown of oneness, the crowns of oneness, the crown of oneness, the throne of oneness, the thrones of oneness, the throne of oneness, the oneness king, the oneness kings, the oneness kingdom, the oneness kingdoms, the oneness king subject, the oneness king subjects, the oneness king's dominion, the oneness king's dominions, the kingdom of oneness, the kingdoms of oneness, the kingdom of oneness, the oneness queen, the oneness queens, the oneness queendom, the oneness queendoms, the oneness queen subject, the oneness queen subjects, the oneness queen's dominion, the oneness queen's dominions, the queendom of oneness, the queendoms of oneness, the queendom of oneness, the oneness prince, the oneness princes, the oneness princedom, the oneness princedoms, the oneness prince's subject, the oneness prince's subjects, the oneness prince's dominion, the oneness prince's dominions, the princedom of oneness, the princedoms of oneness, the princedom of oneness, the oneness princess, the oneness princesses, the oneness princessdom, the oneness princessdoms, the oneness princess's subject, the oneness princess's subjects, the oneness princess's dominion, the oneness princess's dominions, the princessdom of oneness, the princessdoms of oneness, the princessdom of oneness, the Lord of oneness, the lords of oneness, the Lord of oneness, the Lordess of oneness, the Lordesses of oneness, the Lordess of oneness, the priest of oneness, the priests of oneness, the priest of oneness, the priestess of oneness, the priestesses of oneness, the priestess of oneness, the ritual of oneness, the rituals of oneness, the ritual of oneness, the shrine of oneness, the shrines of oneness, the shrine of oneness, the temple of oneness, the temples of oneness, the temple of oneness, the leader of oneness, the leaders of oneness, the leader of oneness, the follower of oneness, the followers of oneness, the follower of oneness, the natural substance of oneness, the natural substances of oneness, the natural substance of oneness, the supernatural substance of oneness, the supernatural substances of oneness, the supernatural substance of oneness, the temporal substance of oneness, the temporal substances of oneness, the temporal substance of oneness, the spiritual substance of oneness, the spiritual substances of oneness, the spiritual substance of oneness, the natural form of oneness, the natural forms of oneness, the natural form of oneness, the supernatural form of oneness, the supernatural forms of oneness, the supernatural form of oneness, the temporal form of oneness, the temporal forms of oneness, the temporal form of oneness, the spiritual form of oneness, the spiritual forms of oneness, the spiritual form of oneness, the age of oneness, the ages of oneness, the age of oneness, the era of oneness, the heiress of oneness, the era of oneness, the awakener of oneness, the awakeners of oneness, the awakener of oneness, the awakening of oneness, the awakenings of oneness, the awakening of oneness, the realm of oneness, the realms of oneness, the realm of oneness, the dimension of oneness, The dimensions of oneness. The dimension of oneness. The zone of oneness. The zones of oneness. The zone of oneness. The frequency of oneness. The frequencies of oneness. The frequency of oneness. The century of oneness. The centuries of oneness. The century of oneness. The millennium of oneness. The millenniums of oneness. The millennium of oneness. The purpose of oneness. The purposes of oneness. The purpose of oneness. The meaning of oneness. The meanings of oneness. The meaning of oneness. The culture of oneness. The cultures of oneness. The culture of oneness. The demonstrator of oneness. The demonstrators of oneness. The demonstrator of oneness. The demonstration of oneness. The demonstrations of oneness. The demonstration of oneness. The manifester of oneness. The manifestors of oneness. The manifester of oneness. The manifestation of oneness. The manifestations of oneness. The manifestation of oneness. The presence of oneness. The presences of oneness. The presence of oneness. The glow of oneness. The glows of oneness. The glow of oneness. The goal of oneness. The goals of oneness. The goal of oneness. The plan of oneness. The plans of oneness. The plan of oneness. The book of oneness. The books of oneness. The book of oneness. The philosopher of oneness. The philosophers of oneness. The philosopher of oneness. The philosophy of oneness. The philosophies of oneness. The philosophy of oneness. The releaser of oneness. The releasers of oneness. The releaser of oneness. The release of oneness. The releases of oneness. The release of oneness. The variable of oneness. The variables of oneness. The variable of oneness. The cause of oneness. The causes of oneness. The cause of oneness. The effect of oneness. The effects of oneness. The effect of oneness. The journey of oneness. The journeys of oneness. The journey of oneness. The emergence of oneness. The emergences of oneness. The emergence of oneness. The source of oneness. The sources of oneness. The source of oneness. The originator of oneness. The originators of oneness. The originator of oneness. The origin of oneness. The origins of oneness. The origin of oneness. The forefather of oneness. The forefathers of oneness. The forefather of oneness. The foremother of oneness. The foremothers of oneness. The foremother of oneness. The ancestor of oneness. The ancestors of oneness. The ancestor of oneness. The descendant of oneness. The descendants of oneness. The descendant of oneness. The lineage of oneness. The lineages of oneness. The lineage of oneness. The heritage of oneness. The heritages of oneness. The heritage of oneness. The heir of oneness. The heirs of oneness. The heir of oneness. The co-heir of oneness. The co-heirs of oneness. The co-heir of oneness. The joint heir of oneness. The joint heirs of oneness. The joint heir of oneness. The dynasty of oneness. The dynasties of oneness. The dynasty of oneness. The force of oneness. The forces of oneness. The force of oneness. The law of oneness. The laws of oneness. The law of oneness. The pact of oneness. The pacts of oneness. The pact of oneness. The game of oneness. The games of oneness. The game of oneness. The mask of oneness. The masks of oneness. The mask of oneness. The armor of oneness. The armors of oneness. The armor of oneness. The sword of oneness. The swords of oneness. The sword of oneness. The shield of oneness. The shields of oneness. The shield of oneness. The force shield of oneness. The force shields of oneness. The force shield of oneness. The armored force shield of oneness. The armored force shields of oneness. The armored force shield of oneness. The champion of oneness. The champions of oneness. the champion of oneness, the guardian of oneness, the guardians of oneness, the guardian of oneness, the defender of oneness, the defenders of oneness, the defender of oneness, the protector of oneness, the protectors of oneness, the protector of oneness, the chant of oneness, the chants of oneness, the chant of oneness, the shape of oneness, the shapes of oneness, the shape of oneness, the cube of oneness, the cubes of oneness, the cube of oneness, the cuboid of oneness, the cuboids of oneness, the cuboid of oneness, the sphere of oneness, the spheres of oneness, the sphere of oneness, the spheroid of oneness, the spheroids of oneness, the spheroid of oneness, the prism of oneness, the prisms of oneness, the prism of oneness, the pyramid of oneness, the pyramids of oneness, the pyramid of oneness, the cylinder of oneness, the cylinders of oneness, the cylinder of oneness, the cone of oneness, the cones of oneness, the cone of oneness, the triangle of oneness, the triangles of oneness, the triangle of oneness, the circle of oneness, the circles of oneness, the circle of oneness, the semicircle of oneness, the semicircles of oneness, the semicircle of oneness, the square of oneness, the squares of oneness, the square of oneness, the rectangle of oneness, the rectangles of oneness, the rectangle of oneness, the parallelogram of oneness, the parallelograms of oneness, the parallelogram of oneness, the rhombus of oneness, the rhombuses of oneness, the rhombus of oneness, the trapezoid of oneness, the trapezoids of oneness, the trapezoid of oneness, the polygon of oneness, the polygons of oneness, the polygon of oneness, the pentagon of oneness, the pentagons of oneness, the pentagon of oneness, the hexagon of oneness, the hexagons of oneness, the hexagon of oneness, the septagon of oneness, the septagons of oneness, the septagon of oneness, the octagon of oneness, the octagons of oneness, the octagon of oneness, the nonagon of oneness, the nonagons of oneness, the nonagon of oneness, the decagon of oneness, the decagons of oneness, the decagon of oneness, the evolution of oneness, the evolutions of oneness, the evolution of oneness, the revolution of oneness, the revolutions of oneness, the revolution of oneness, the elemental art of oneness, the elemental arts of oneness, the elemental art of oneness, the elemental science of oneness, the elemental sciences of oneness, the elemental science of oneness, the elemental principle of oneness, the elemental principles of oneness, the elemental principle of oneness, the elemental technology of oneness, the elemental technologies of oneness, the elemental technology of oneness, the low elemental art of oneness, the low elemental arts of oneness, the low elemental art of oneness, the low elemental science of oneness, the low elemental sciences of oneness, the low elemental science of oneness, the low elemental principle of oneness, the low elemental principles of oneness, the low elemental principle of oneness, the low elemental technology of oneness, the low elemental technologies of oneness, the low elemental technology of oneness, the high elemental art of oneness, the high elemental arts of oneness, the high elemental art of oneness, the high elemental science of oneness, the high elemental sciences of oneness, the high elemental science of oneness, the high elemental principle of oneness, the high elemental principles of oneness, the high elemental principle of oneness, the high elemental technology of oneness, the high elemental technologies of oneness, the high elemental technology of oneness, the agent of oneness, the agents of oneness, the agent of oneness, The agency of oneness. The agencies of oneness. The agency of oneness. The amplifier of oneness. The amplifiers of oneness. The amplifier of oneness. The amplification of oneness. The amplifications of oneness. The amplification of oneness. The enhancer of oneness. The enhancers of oneness. The enhancer of oneness. The enhancement of oneness. The enhancements of oneness. The enhancement of oneness. The magnifier of oneness. The magnifiers of oneness. The magnifier of oneness. The magnification of oneness. The magnifications of oneness. The magnification of oneness. The influencer of oneness. The influencers of oneness. The influencer of oneness. The influence of oneness. The influences of oneness. The influence of oneness. The emanator of oneness. The emanators of oneness. The emanator of oneness. The emanation of oneness. The emanations of oneness. The emanation of oneness. The converger of oneness. The convergers of oneness. The converger of oneness. The convergence of oneness. The convergences of oneness. The convergence of oneness. The aura of oneness. The auras of oneness. The aura of oneness. The impression of oneness. The impressions of oneness. The impression of oneness. The intelligence of oneness. The intelligences of oneness. The intelligence of oneness. The sophistication of oneness. The sophistications of oneness. The sophistication of oneness. The genius of oneness. The geniuses of oneness. The genius of oneness. The polymath of oneness. The polymaths of oneness. The polymath of oneness. The psychic of oneness. The psychics of oneness. The psychic of oneness. The knowledge of oneness. The knowledges of oneness. The knowledge of oneness. The understanding of oneness. The understandings of oneness. The understanding of oneness. The wisdom of oneness. The wisdoms of oneness. The wisdom of oneness. The secret of oneness. The secrets of oneness. The secret of oneness. The mystery of oneness. The mysteries of oneness. The mystery of oneness. The revelation of oneness. The revelations of oneness. The revelation of oneness. The tactic of oneness. The tactics of oneness. The tactic of oneness. The strategy of oneness. The strategies of oneness. The strategy of oneness. The strength of oneness. The strengths of oneness. The strength of oneness. The might of oneness. The might of oneness. The might of oneness. The power of oneness. The powers of oneness. The power of oneness. The authority of oneness. The authorities of oneness. The authority of oneness. The dominion of oneness. The dominions of oneness. The dominion of oneness. The rhythm of oneness. The rhythms of oneness. The rhythm of oneness. The melody of oneness. The melodies of oneness. The melody of oneness. The music of oneness. The musics of oneness. The music of oneness. The lyric of oneness. The lyrics of oneness. The lyric of oneness. The song of oneness. The songs of oneness. The song of oneness. The dance of oneness. The dances of oneness. The dance of oneness. The spirit of oneness. The spirits of oneness. The spirit of oneness. The soul of oneness. The souls of oneness. The soul of oneness. The body of oneness. The bodies of oneness. The body of oneness. The mark of oneness. The marks of oneness. The mark of oneness. The promise of oneness. The promises of oneness. The promise of oneness. The visionary of oneness. The visionaries of oneness. The visionary of oneness. The vision of oneness. The visions of oneness. The vision of oneness. The picture of oneness. The pictures of oneness. The picture of oneness. The sound of oneness. The sounds of oneness. The sound of oneness. The tongue of oneness. The tongues of oneness. the tongue of oneness, the language of oneness, the languages of oneness, the language of oneness, the communication of oneness, the communications of oneness, the communication of oneness, the people of oneness, the peoples of oneness, the people of oneness, the society of oneness, the societies of oneness, the society of oneness, the fortress of oneness, the fortresses of oneness, the fortress of oneness, the government of oneness, the governments of oneness, the government of oneness, the city of oneness, the cities of oneness, the city of oneness, the nation of oneness, the nations of oneness, the nation of oneness, the civilization of oneness, the civilizations of oneness, the civilization of oneness, the world of oneness, the worlds of oneness, the world of oneness,